It is now 11 o'clock, so I'm going to begin the Technology Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 1, 2024. Can I get a roll call?
Chair Yu,
Here.
Berlin,
Here.
Cahill, Carrier,
Here.
Eckhoff,
Here.
Velocity, Justin, Henry, Jorgensen, Kazmarek,
Here.
Rutledge,
Here.
White.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you. So for my remarks, hello, everybody. I just want to welcome, he's not here today, right?
No, he's not.
Okay, well, I wanted to welcome Roy Clancy. Roy Clancy, who is our new ERP manager, to our county technology team. So he actually happens to have over, I think 30 years of experience in IT, including more than 20 years specifically in project management, specializing in ERP implementation, which is something that we were needing here at the county. So I wanted to welcome Roy. Hopefully he's watching. Then second, I wanted to remind all of you that starting today, October 1, our Know Before security training has begun, and it is mandatory. And I saw that look, member recorder carrier. But yes, it is required. And I'm not going to steal Anthony's thunder because he's going to go into it a little bit in more detail towards the end of our meeting during old business. And yes, Anthony's also going to be giving us an update with regard to the Dayforce Ceridian implementation, which, as you guys know, is delayed until early 2025. All right, so do we have any public comment?
No.
Great, okay. Can I get a motion to approve 24-2599, approval of minutes for the Technology Committee meeting Tuesday, September 3, 2024? And I have a motion. Do I have a second? Thank you. Any discussion or revisions? Hearing none. Everybody say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain. I wasn't here.
All right, thank you. Okay, we can. All right,
It gets hot, I'll open it again.
yes. I think we'll go relatively quickly, yes, and then we can turn the fan back on. So item 6A, can I get a motion for TEP 15-24, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase to SHI International Corp. For the procurement of laptops, docks, and monitors for IT for the period of October 8, 2024 through November 30, 2024, for a contract total amount of $229,123 per cooperative purchasing agreement pricing.
Moved. Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and second. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Anthony, you have 4 items listed on the procurement. 3 of the items are listed at quantity of 150 each, and then the last item listed for monitors is at 200. Is there a reason we're getting 50 more monitors than everything else?
Sure. So in some cases, we have to replace monitors for other devices. Desktops are actually not part of this order. So we're going to have a second order that specifically covers desktops. But we order additional monitors to cover additional items. So monitors may go out more than actual devices.
Yes.
And do you have some positions that are dual monitor?
We do.
That's kind of part of that over.
Yep, that could be it as well, so.
I actually had a question. So, which departments are covered under these?
Quite a few.
Desktops and monitors?
That's a great question. So there are a total of 21 departments that are covered. The auditor's office, we are purchasing a few devices, building and zoning, children's center, coroner's office. The county board is going to get a few, county clerk, facilities, finance, the mailroom, human resources, I'm sorry, not human resources, they're 0. IT department's getting a few, OHSEM, probation, public defender, security, yeah, quite a few.
Maybe it would be better to
21
have
total.
said what didn't.
Yeah, there are quite a few. It's spread out. So it's
Okay.
really depending on the age of the devices. If they're 5 years or more, we try to replace. We're 4 years is actually our life cycle, but sometimes we'll let it go additional years. So 4 or 5 years, we try to replace.
Great. Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Thank you. Can I get a motion for TEP 16-24, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Infor Inc. for ERP software maintenance and support for IT for the period of November 13, 2024 through November 30, 2025, for a contract total of $247,856.83.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and that passes. Thank you. Moving on to 2319, can I get a motion for recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Emphasis Computer Solutions for the annual maintenance and support of Simpro Treasury Management Software for the Treasurer's Office, paid for IT for the period of December 1, 2024 through November 30, 2025, for a contract total amount of $29,049.79.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on this one?
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great, that passes. And lastly, for procurement, can I get a motion for 24-2533, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Granicus LLC for an annual subscription to the Gov delivery software platform used by the county board to send out the county's e-newsletters paid for by IT for the period of October 26, 2024 to October 25, 2025 for IT for a contract total amount of $29,900.09.
Madam
So
Clerk.
moved.
Second,
Second.
thank you.
Anybody else?
discussion?
We're
Yeah,
the
I-
tag team this morning.
Yes.
Yeah, speaking of tag team, I just wanted to mention that Joan and I tag team to negotiate a lower price on on this renewal. Would have been about $3,000 more, but we were able to convince them to save us a few dollars. So every penny
Yes.
counts.
Well
Nice
done.
job, nice job. All right.
Broadcast journalism.
I know. All right, any other discussion, feedback? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Great, and that passes. So for informational items, I'm just going to move to combine item 7A, 7B, 7C, 7D, 7E, 7F. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so can I get a motion to receive and place on file JPSP 0028-24, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to AT&T Mobility to provide wireless service for the Sheriff's Office for the period of August 15, 2024 to July 24, 2027, for a contract total not to exceed $404,000. And JPSP 0029-24, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to AT&T to provide wired service for the Sheriff's Office for the period of September 1, 2024 to February 16, 2026, for a contract total not to exceed $292,200. And JPSP 30-24, recommendation for the approval of contract purchase order to Comcast Business to provide Ethernet service for the Sheriff's Office for the period of September 1, 2024 to March 31, 2027, for a contract total not to exceed $162,240. And JPSP 0027-24, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Verizon Wireless to provide FirstNet service for tablets for the Sheriff's Office for the period of August 15, 2024 to October 2, 2025, for a contract total not to exceed $98,000. And JPSP 0026-24, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Real Time Networks, Inc. for the purchase of an asset tracer locker management system for the Sheriff's Office the period of October 9, 2024 through October 8, 2025, for a contract total not to exceed $93,524. And lastly, HSCO 2-24, amendment to county contract issued to Carasoft Technology Corporation to increase encumbrance in the amount of $2,630.90 for the addition of 5 user licenses. Can I get the motion? Anybody?
So moved.
And a second? Member Rutledge, what do you say?
Sure. I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Quick comment.
So, yes, you have a comment.
Yes, I just want to just say to the committee that hats off to the Sheriff's Office and the JPS Chair for sharing this as an informational item. This is exactly what we're looking for other agencies, elected official offices, to let us know about the technology that's out there. We're able to check the contracts, make sure that they are using the right contracts with the right pricing. It's the right thing to do, is what we've been asking for a long time. So I just wanted to acknowledge the Sheriff's Office and also JPS for sending this over. But we hope that all committees do the same.
Thank you, Anthony. Yes, I actually felt like Member Ozog going through that list, actually. All right. So we're going to move on to old business. Do any members have any old business before Anthony begins his spiel? All right, no, Anthony, take it away.
Okay, thank you. So I have two things I want to update you guys on. The first one is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. You have received an email, it went to all DuPage County technology users yesterday, October 1st, kind of outlining what we have in mind. I know that know before training is always on the front of your mind because we're always pushing it out. But it makes a huge difference. So we have one of the lowest percentages of issues with malicious actors getting through. It's because of the training, right? It's because we're always reminding you guys, we're training you on what to look out for, what not to look out for. Things have changed with AI and just in general. The training incorporates all those changes so that you're aware of it and you're not tricked into it. So that said, Cybersecurity Awareness Month is super important, and we have a lot planned for it. As Chair, you mentioned earlier, know before training through the end of this year is open. There's mandatory training you have to take to make sure that you're fully aware of all the changes and what to look out for. We're going to send weekly tips, just as reminders. Each week, there'll be a different tip for all users to look through. And then we're pushing out Windows updates. We're making sure that every device is secure, up to date, and locked down. So those are the main things that we're doing for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And then we remind people at the end that if you find a USB drive, this happens, we do this, and there are malicious actors that do this for real, but we do it as a test to you. Make sure you hand it in to the IT department, don't plug it in. That's how some of the viruses like ransomware gets out, right? They'll see a nice brand new USB drive, somebody will say, oh, I would love to have this USB drive and use it for myself, and they plug it into the system. Then the virus propagates that way. So if you see those things or any of your employees see those things, make sure they hand them into to us. More than likely, it's one of our tests, but if not, it could be a malicious player out there. So that's it for cybersecurity. The second item I wanted to bring up was I sent out an hour before the meeting, a memo, updated memo, and I'm going to show it here. On September 3rd, member Galassi brought up, after we did our budget review, she wanted to see actuals through the end of 2024. So we actually did that analysis. We looked at our numbers. We looked at our current spend. I'll show it in 1 second. If you go down the middle, basically shows that our current budget is about $4 million with actual encumbrances, 3.3 million. So the remaining balance is about $738,000. We have gone through and looked at what's outstanding, what we need to pay, and we projected that we're going to spend $688,000 of that amount, which leaves a projected variance of $47,000, only 1.2% of our overall budget. So we originally said about 5%, and we actually came in lower than that. We're very, very close to spending our entire budget.
Yep.
So the details are here. If you have any additional questions, just read through it and let either myself or Richard know. If you look at the bottom, it kind of shows where we've been over the past couple of years, and it shows that for the most part, we're pretty steady with our budget. We haven't gone up too much, so. That's it.
All right, any other old business? Oh, yes.
Excuse me, new
Member Wynn.
business.
Sorry?
New business.
Oh, moving on to new business
New
then, go
business.
ahead.
Okay, I spoke with Anthony about this morning. I just want to make sure the committee is aware that my office has been seeing issues with the stability of MHC and some issues with Lawson staying up. And they're aware of it, they're working on it, but I do want to make the committee aware that it's not just our office, but that's been a problem. I think a pay list last week was delayed for a reason.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
What's MHC?
MHC is one of it's a accounting application that supports our financial system. So once we issue an RFP, we'll probably replace it. It's a very old system. So the reason I bring that up is MHC is probably the majority of the problems, even though we've had N4 issues in the past. It's been a minimal amount of issues because the systems work together. sometimes users assume that it's N4 when it's really MHC. It's been MHC, so there's some instability issues that we're fully aware of. We recently had issues with permissions, people being able to access certain folders and certain pieces of functionality. We did a root cause analysis recently on RCA, if you ever hear that term, which is a deep dive assessment of what the problem is. We've determined what the issue is, and we have a solution that we're going to apply and moving forward that we think will fix the permissions issues. So a lot of the problems that the auditor is bringing up, I think, will be addressed that way. Secondly, we are upgrading MHC to a newer version over the next couple of months. We believe that upgrade will also stabilize that environment. The third thing is we have brought in our ERP manager, Roy Clancy, which the chair introduced earlier. He has 30 years of ERP specific experience in private sector. So he has worked on nothing but ERP systems for 30 years. He's great on the project side. He understands the operation side. He's great at leadership and management, but he has some ideas about how he can stabilize the environment as well and help in areas that we have challenges in. So we're looking at those three things to stabilize the environment. We think that that will help moving forward. The ultimate answer is to replace MHC because it's an old system. We can't do that until we're done with the Dayforce HR payroll system implementation. We'll issue a financial ERP system RFP after that, and then we're going to replace it. We've had a ton of issues for years. It's an older system, and we're not going to upgrade it at this point. We're not going to pay additional money.
Well, I'd like to add a little more, and Anthony can jump in if I get it not quite right, but it's going to be my non-IT professional explanation of what MHC does. MHC is an interface with the accounting backbone, and all of the departments and offices enter their accounts payable invoices into MHC. And then there's an approved workflow with checks and balances to make sure that an invoice has been approved by people who are authorized to approve it. So we aren't paying bills that we don't have the right departmental approval. And what happens is that with MHC, my staff can call up an image of all of the documents tied to a given claim and review, have the right department heads, have the right people enter their approval. When it goes down, we can't process payment. It basically stops the accounts payable process. And then we put in work tickets, and then they bring it back up, and then, okay, no, but anyway, and the explanation that Anthony gave, I think that's what we have to do. And I have no quarrels or questions about that explanation, but that's what we have to do going forward. But it is taking much longer to do things that we would do faster in the past because of how I think MHC stability is a good word. Yeah.
And we agree.
Yeah.
And we're going to address it.
Thanks for bringing that up and for your comments. Anthony, did you want to talk about the
Sure, I can give an update
Yes.
on Dayforce. So some of you may have heard that Dayforce was supposed to, our HR payroll, new HR payroll system, was supposed to go live on October 1st. It is not going live on October 1st. We ran into several issues. I actually have a long list I won't bore you with of 67 issues that we recently identified 2 weeks before go live. So we had a meeting with the vendor 2 weeks ago. We explained to them that we were not prepared to go live and that we were not going to go live until they were able to resolve that entire list of the 67 issues, for them to come up with solutions to our concerns and problems and to give us corresponding timelines, right, of how long this stuff is going to take for them to complete. Nick specifically gave them 2 weeks to come back, and that's the end of this week, with answers, with additional timelines. So I'll have at the next meeting more answers in terms of how long it's going to take. As Nick stated recently in one of our meetings, we're not going to rush it. So there's no need to rush. Payroll HR is functioning fine. What we wanted to do with the new Dayforce implementation is improve the payroll, the HR and payroll applications to make it better and easier, more efficient, but it still works fine, right? So I'm going to continue to keep doing that using N4 and our existing processes. We're not going to rush it. We're going to make sure we get it right. We think it may take up to 6 months in order to do that, sometime in 2025. when crossed all the Ts, dotted all the Is, then we plan to go live with it. So they are fully aware of what those issues are, and we're, again, trying to work through them. Since we had that meeting, and it was a somewhat contentious meeting, but very straightforward, they did walk away with a ton of notes, and they acknowledged that there were problems and that they would try to address them. So that's always half the battle, right? Them acknowledging that there are actually problems and coming up with solution. Since then, they actually have stepped up. They brought in additional resources to help out. They're Johnny on the spot. They're very responsive to our requests and our issues. They're giving us answers to questions that we had before and we didn't have answers. We were very worried. How do you go live in 2 weeks and we don't have these answers to these problems? They're starting to answer a lot of those things. So that additional time will help a lot. And I think I'm confident that we're going to be successful. I think it's a strong application. Sometimes with these implementations, you run into poor implementation, organizations, or just poor processes. And sometimes you got to really poke the bear to get them to focus and do things the right way. But the application, I think, is strong.
Any good question?
One question and one comment. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this needs to launch at the beginning of a calendar quarter.
Correct.
So January 1st, April 1st, July, and January 1st would be a really bad day to launch a new system as we're doing all the year-end processing within HR.
Yeah,
Okay, so.
you're spot on. So that's why I said it's probably 6 months.
So it's not 6 months, taking me 6 months of time to do the work.
Yeah.
It's that January 1st would be a terrible day to do this.
That's absolutely right.
And then I also want
But
to.
let me be clear, it's both.
It's
We
both.
don't want to rush it. We know there's a lot going on. People are out between now and the end of the year. And you're right, it's terrible, but we want to give them time to get it right. We don't want them to rush through it.
That's why February 1st wouldn't work,
Yep.
or February 15th wouldn't work. It
Yeah.
has to be April 1st, because it has to correspond with the calendar quarter. I also want to share with the committee a fancy fun new metaphor I learned about ERPs, which is that they're software concrete, that while it's in configuration, you can pour into any shape you want. But once you accept it and go live, you can't
Yeah.
move the concrete. And because of that, delaying until it's perfect is absolutely the right thing to do, in my opinion.
Spot on. Yeah. Spot on.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
Just piggybacking off this a little bit, as an end user who hasn't always understood the distinctions between Infor and MHC and the things that you're discussing, with I forget the title, new ERP manager, supervisor, whoever the individual you discussed.
Manager, yeah.
And with, the one new system going live and then another one looking to be replaced, I think it would be helpful perhaps at some point at one of these meetings to, have a bit of a presentation, just clarifying, like, this is this chunk of the puzzle, this is this chunk of the puzzle, this is the one that we're replacing, this is what we're looking to possibly upgrade. I know for me, that would make some of the, like, systems I'm interacting with make a little more sense. And I think if it's at the point where, a new system is being implemented and another new system, maybe going out to market soon, it would just be helpful, at some upcoming meeting to just do a broader overview to kind of explain the different interlocking pieces of that.
That's a good thought.
Yeah, we would love to. I think it makes sense to do this.
Okay, thank you for the comments. All right, any other questions or discussion for new business? Okay, without objection, we're adjourned. Thank you. Please move on to cooler.